We are on. Good morning, guys. How's it going? Welcome to everybody listening in. I hope you enjoyed today's show. I've got some fantastic guests from around the world here today, an international panel. It's not just me. So I've got a few mates from the Southern Hemisphere and the Northern Hemisphere, and I will just go around and introduce them and then get everybody to just give a quick sort of analysis of where they are, you know, how long they've been involved in the rugby, what they do at their club, etc., and then we'll get stuck into it. So I'll go from around the world. So we've got Nick Turnbull, we have got Philly in Fiji, we've got Hamish down in New Zealand, the deep dark South Canterbury area. We've got Noel in Bradford, probably about 5 minutes drive for me actually. So welcome, guys. Nick, do you want to kick us off, mate? Give us a bit of a background about you and your journey so far.
Yeah, mate. Firstly, good to see you. Thanks very much for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity. I live in Brisbane, in Queensland, Australia. I've been around the game as long as I can remember, since I was a little tacker. So rugby has been a massive part of my life and continues to be so. And presently, I'm coaching set piece for reserve grade for the West Bulldogs in Brisbane, and pre-season's just started really, and it's great to be back after watching a bit of the cricket. So, in a nutshell, that's me, mate.
And just briefly, outside of rugby, your journey outside of rugby.
Yeah, I left school. Just rugby was consistent. Tried a few different things as we all do, but I found my way in life through both the New South Wales and Queensland police forces, which I'm currently in the Queensland Police, and I work as a prosecutor during the day. So, which gives me time to coach rugby and do the wife's list sometimes.
Excellent. Well, it's great to have you on board, mate. Cheers. Philly, what about you? Tell us a bit about you.
Hello everyone. My name is Filimone. I'm from the beautiful islands of Fiji. I've been involved in, I played rugby for about, I think probably 18 years, from the age of 14 right up to 33. I never got the chance to play overseas. If I had gone, I don't think so, I would have come back to Fiji. I started off as a strength and conditioning coach for the coach that I'm currently coaching under. So we started in 2018. Had done my World Rugby SNC level 1. So he asked me to help him with the provincial side that played in the second division or the second tier of our provincial rugby in Fiji. After that, I went, I'm a personal trainer by trade. So I went back, we did that for about 2 years, 2018, 2019. Then I went back, I stopped, went back to work. Then, so my head coach, Sarah Mambai, he had played professional rugby for a bit. Then he started up a club here in Suva. So I'm based in Suva, the capital of Fiji. And then 2020, just before the COVID lockdowns, he had asked me to come in to be his SNC again. And then he saw that I was also always involved with our forwards, as I played the best position in rugby, which is a tight head prop. So then he asked me to help out with the forwards, and then opportunity presented itself during the COVID lockdowns. We had the Fiji Rugby Union had us on doing our level 1s on Zoom, via Zoom. So got that done last year, got my level 2s this year, last year as well. In June, I have my assessment for my level 3s in March. So yes, but apart from that, yeah, I enjoy I enjoy what I do now. I enjoy being a forwards coach. I'm also involved with so we generally have a pathway in our team. So we start right from under 9s to under 18s. So I'm in charge of our under 18s now, just to make sure we have quality control of the players that come up to our courts and up to our big team. So I do that on the other days. But yeah, learned a lot. Learned a lot from the guys on the podcast today via our previous interaction. So yeah, I see myself tweaking it from personal training to full-time coaching, because I have to sacrifice one of those. I can't do both at the same time. Anyway, that's it about me.
So you go from taking raw talent beasts and turning them into absolute beasts, so they can go and pummel everybody else around the world. Great to have you on board, mate. Great to have you on board. Hamish, let us know what's going on with you, mate.
Thank you, Craig.
How you going there, guys? Thanks very much for having me on, Craig. I'm Hamish. I'm from a small place in middle of South Island, New Zealand, called Fairlie. Dairy farmer by trade. So for the last, I can't remember actually, for a long time I've been dairy farming. Prior to that, something you wouldn't know, I worked as an accountant for the Church of England in London when I was on my OE. So I was based in behind Westminster Abbey, and even got to get the Queen's chair one time and bring it over for a meeting they were having. So she's been a long road getting to where I am now, and still plenty to go in the track, I'd say. So I've been mainly a senior men's coach with my local club, and done a bit of rep stuff. Head coach for South Canterbury under 21 team last year, and looking to do it again this year. And much like Fairlie, I'd love to, progress and make coaching more of a job than a hobby, and look to see if we can get around the world in time. And so I'm focused on developing my skills and learning all I can about rugby and coaching to advance that. And look, I just love meeting people and chewing the fat. So this is going to go great, I think. I can't wait to just talk shit, really. Let's get into it.
Excellent, mate. Hey, it's great to have somebody on board to keep us in line, and you always need a bean counter somewhere in the mix. So it's interesting when you find out people's stories, where they've been, what they've done. So
yeah, not many people pick that, I tell you.
You threw me there, mate. Noel, how are you? Where are you?
Good. Currently residing in Harrogate, so North Yorkshire. Friend who lives up there, hence the David Lawrence address on the video. We were due to play here today, but our opposition decided to cancel on us, so no game. Where are we supposed to start? Spent 20 years in operations management, managing people for 20 years, which was good fun. Decided in 2003, had enough of the UK, went to go live in Dublin. Spent a couple of years over there, same sort of thing, man management, and then got bored of that, qualified as a PT. So started working as a PT in a gym over there. Ended up managing the gym over there, and got into tutoring and assessing as well. Moved back to the UK in 2016, continuing doing the same sort of thing, working in world of exercise and fitness, still tutoring and assessing PTs, gym instructors. Rugby wise, played for my local team in Bradford, which you're now associated with, Craig, anyway. And whilst there, got into a bit of coaching there as well with juniors and stuff like that. Moved across to Ireland, had a really good mate who played over there, the team attached to the Aer Lingus, the airline. Coached them for a couple of years, and then got into Trinity College in Dublin, university team, but they play in the national leagues over there. So pretty good standard what they were playing, and that kind of opened my eyes a heck of a lot as to rugby, because I was very used to the English way of playing. Irish way was completely different. And I'd say the first 6 months of that probably did my head in terms of how they played rugby. And it was run by an English guy, but a brilliant coach. Since moving back to the UK, coached down in South Yorkshire, Doncaster for a couple of years. Currently back up in West Yorkshire coaching a senior ladies team, which is great fun.
Excellent. And make sure you give us the Irish perspective as well, because that'll be quite interesting.
Yeah. Like I say, changed my view of the world in terms of how to play rugby, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Look, from my point of view, I played since I was about 5 or 6, I think, all the way through to when I was 25 or 26, stopped playing because of concussion. Got 3 in 1 season, and I was about to take the next step into playing Waikato Bees and potentially moving on from there. But after sort of those 3 concussions, it was starting to take a bit of a toll. I remember taking one massive, we were playing police rugby, so I was in the police as well, joined when I was 21. I remember playing one police match down in New Plymouth, I think. And I was wearing headgear. I've been playing at 12, took a knock, took somebody's foot over the back of my head. And when I took the headgear off, all that was left was the material that was keeping the foam and the inside material. So if it hadn't have been for that, it would have been a pretty nasty injury. But we've been over here in the UK for 15, 16 years now, been coaching the boys, rugby, helped to start up the junior section at Bradford, Salem, where Noel and I met, and some of the lads that we started with when they were 10, I think, now playing first team rugby, 5 or 6 of them. The others have gone to university, some will come back. Karen's in New Zealand playing as well. So that's been a real proud moment, because the guys are the mainstay. They're 21 now. They're going to be there for the next 7 or 8, maybe 10 years. And just, they're getting into their stride playing sort of senior rugby in Yorkshire. I started coaching seniors out at Skipton about 5 years ago, and really enjoyed that. That was my first role as coaching senior rugby, and that was a real eye-opener. So it was good work. It was hard work, but then I was asked to take a step back in October, and so I've just started picking up the second team at Bradford Salem again, which was the first game yesterday, sorry. And it's good to be back involved. It was good to have a break. I think we all know that the time that you dedicate is hard work during the week, and between November and sort of this week has been nice to sort of Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, especially in season, to have a bit of a break and recharge. So, but for everybody who's listening in today is the title is Blokes, Bullshit and Rugby. And, when you've got your mates here talking about footy, we've got Six Nations coming up as well. It's World Cup year. I think it's really exciting, just sitting around and chewing the fat with the guys. So for all of us, we all went through the Canterbury Crusaders coaching courses. Nick, Hamish, Philly and myself, we all went through with Grant Keenan in March, April last year. I really enjoyed it, and I know you guys did, and that's the reason why we're all here today. Noel's just gone through wasn't the most recent course, was it?
Yeah, October.
Yeah, October's course. So we'll get you to touch on that. Actually, we'll do that now. So, boys, you want to go around and just give us a quick update on what you thought about the course that we went through? Any highlights and recommendations that people are listening in today, whether they may be on the verge of, inquiring what it looks like? Who wants to jump in first?
I'll go.
Go on, Mel.
Biggest thing for me was, as a coach, get to know your people. I was really interested. Like they didn't talk anything at all really about rugby. It was more just get to know your people, understand your people, and if you understand your people, you'll get more out of them. And brilliant from that side of things. Brilliant, and in a lot of ways, I was very glad they didn't talk about rugby. They talked about, I suppose, how to how to get the most out of people, and like I think it was one of the live sessions that they delivered, I think with Robertson, was like, somebody asked a question, what do you do with a guy who's an idiot, might be a brilliant player, but is an idiot? And the answer was like, well, find out why he's an idiot. And it was like, brilliant. Go find that out, because he might be the best player you've ever got. You just don't understand him. And that I think that side of things, is a really, really good thing to sort of come across. And particularly like with coaching women now, has been, I suppose, had a really, really different approach with them. Like with the women, they're very much a social team anyway, and it's making sure they enjoy themselves socially and learn a little bit about rugby. So
yeah.
That was the best thing out of it for me. It was like, more focus on the people, understand them, and get more out of them that way, as opposed to just trying to be the best rugby expert in the world.
Nick, what about you, mate?
I really enjoyed just the connections, first and foremost, Craig, like obviously meeting yourself and Hamish and Philly and the other guys on our course. I thought we had a really cohesive group. And some of us have kept a more regular touch than others, but I did enjoy hearing how other people come into the game and how they approach it as a coach. A little bit different to Noel. A couple of rugby things that really stood out for me from the course. That was when Jason Ryan, current All Blacks forwards coach, spoke to us and really rammed home that mindset, skill set, structure pyramid of how to approach the game. And that really stuck with me. And I really bought into that as much as I can myself. And I don't know if you recall an anecdote Sam Whitelock told us about when he went and saw the Foo Fighters play, and Toddy Blackadder questioned him about it and said about the mistakes the Foo Fighters make, and Sam goes, what mistakes? And he goes, exactly. You didn't see him, just kept on playing through their mistakes. And that anecdote and what Jason said and the connections and everybody were fantastic. But those things, they're the things that have really stuck with me. And I really encourage anybody, even if you're not a Crusaders person, to do that course. It's brilliant.
Philly, your thoughts?
For me, it would be from a team perspective, it's like culture, like how you build a good culture for the team, and exactly what the other two gentlemen have just shared, how the Crusaders build themselves, how they build themselves as an organization that are employed by the Crusaders, or the people that are involved in all levels, from Scott Hansen, that was talking about how you approach a player when you try to discuss a mistake they made. So I took that to heart, and I try to do that. I do that now. We just had a warm-up game, the club I'm with, just yesterday. One of our players, after saying that he understood everything for the past 3 weeks, went in and did the complete opposite for the first 60 minutes. And when they came off, I had to go to him. I was walking straight to him to, just give him a nice talking to. But then I had to revert back to what we learned, is like what was his thought process, and then just because at the end of the day, we're trying to get them to be better men, basically, and empower them so that they can do better on the rugby field. So this was one of the things that's really transformed the way that I approach coaching, especially in Fiji, because for us here, the players don't, you're the boss, you can put, but it's good with Sir Mike, that's changing, and with what the Crusaders have taught, and how successful they are. I'm a big Crusaders fan, and they just continue to be successful. So it was great to be part of that and understand and see that, but how they value the person, the player as a person. And also, on top of that, many other coaches from the different parts of the world. So that was really, really good for me on a personal and a professional level as well.
Cool. Hamish?
Crikey, for me, probably like player engagement was a massive thing. You know, like getting people engaged and contributing, and comfortable to contribute. So getting them relaxed and feeling like they're part of something bigger than just themselves, and then they can perform and they'll contribute and they'll add to the group. And I found that quite a powerful tool, which we used with our team last year. It's like, you know, when you're not a professional, you know, success has got a lot of different meanings, you know, and if you focus on the engagement and people being valued and feeling like their time's useful, you know, that time spent hasn't been wasted and they're enjoying themselves, then they'll really perform and you'll get the results will come anyway. You know, they'll do the extra because they'll do the mahi, as we say in New Zealand, to try and to increase their skill set and be more useful to the team because they're feeling like they're part of a bigger thing. And that was something Crusaders used, I think, from what I saw anyway, what I took away, and it's really powerful at that professional level, but break it down to a basic or, you know, a amateur level. It's absolutely just insanely good as a tool, and then you pull it to semi-professional level in New Zealand. The Black Ferns, they used that as a tool. They got right into enjoyment and working hard for each other, and that's how they ended up winning the World Cup last year. Huge part of it. If they hadn't have changed their focus, they wouldn't have got anywhere near that final. Yeah, so.
No, they're all really valid points that everybody's raised. Noel's course is a little bit different. It was the first one of its kind, wasn't it? Where it wasn't live sessions all the time. There were recordings that were available.
Yeah, 2 weeks of pre-recordings. Then you had just the 2 live sessions with Robertson and Deans. Yeah,
and ours were pretty full on. You know, up in the middle of the night, sort of early hours, and Ushka was up at 3 a.m. or whatever it was in Sri Lanka. For me, it was, I thought, you know, the content was brilliant, and just being able to connect with your players, like everybody's sort of acknowledged, it's the simplest thing. It's the obvious thing. And for a lot of people, it's the hardest thing, and it's the one that's undervalued. And I learned that lesson sort of last year as well. So it's something that I will definitely take away and continue to work on. And also being able to connect with the group as well, because that was really interesting. Everybody's different, you know, journeys and how they came to being on the same course. Really, really cool. So if you get to listen to this and you're interested in doing the Crusaders course, jump on it, because it's well worth it. You know, the money and time that you spent will be investment in yourself. And as Noel rightly said, it's not necessarily about rugby. You know, it's about connection. It's about managing people. And that's one of the reasons why I asked Grunter how many businesses were putting their managers on through the course, because it goes well beyond rugby. So, right, let's get stuck into it, guys. Who wants to start us off? Southern Hemisphere, who are your picks for the World Cup? Let's go. Let's talk about it. I know we've had a bit of brief banter about it already. Go on, Philly, you start us off.
Okay. So for the World Cup, I'd go England for the win.
Yeah.
Probably, I don't know what the draws are. Probably they'll have a final with the French. The All Blacks would have to be in there for my third. Springboks on the day, match their physicality. I think they'll come in fourth. Yeah, Irish fifth. I'm doubtful on the Irish because they tend to reach the quarterfinals more often than they do when it's the World Cup. Yeah, so yeah.
Go on, Nick.
But I think won't talk about the Southern Hemisphere guys as requested, but the Irish, I think, the team obviously to watch from the Northern Hemisphere after that great great series they had down in your old neck of the woods, mate. And sorry to put that in, Hamish, but it was quite a phenomenal series when you think about it. And I actually think the French, I mean, obviously it's home for them, but there's a lot of pressure on how well Fabian's team can digest that pressure. Can they chew it or will they choke? So I'm leaning towards the choke, to be honest with you, mate. I might sound a wee bit disrespectful, but I think the consistency of Irish will get them there. Occasion will outdo the French. I think Gats will do a really good job with Wales and make them competitive, but I don't see. He's an excellent coach. From what I can see, how's he going to evolve that old team that he's had? What's the evolution in their game? I think he's just going to get them to a competitive level, give them some respect, but and they could cause our Wallabies a lot of grief in the pool. But I just don't think Gats can evolve that Welsh team so quickly when he's an old coach coming back. But he's a wily customer, so he might prove me wrong. As for the Scots, they've been a real danger team for the Wallabies for a long time now. I hope we don't have to cross paths with them. I think Gregor Townsend's assembled a really solid outfit that's it's got the benefit of that cohesion of that Glasgow Edinburgh team. Those teams largely filling their squad with some star players coming from outside of that, but they're a very cohesive unit that will cause anybody trouble on their day. But I just don't think they've got that depth to go all the way. The English, they're just these guys know how to strangle you out of a game. I don't think that'll change. I think Borthwick, he's a clever cookie, that man. His set piece will be on the money, and he'll make sure that his backline, whatever it may be, are going to have some quality possession to play with. I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to how much Steve is trying to change what Eddie was doing in that short time, and how much clarity he can get through to the group of how he wants to play it, because he's only got a small window, but they will be there or thereabouts. But and with Colt, he's got Italy, and yeah, they gave us a beating over there. And he's got those guys playing fast and confident rugby, probably the best Italian rugby I can recall. And they might not get out of the pool, but they will certainly cause some. They're going to cause somebody some trouble somewhere. I sense the Italians. So I'll be leaning towards the Irish. Keep an eye on the English and the French to choke. Sorry to my French friends.
And my French.
Yes.
Hamish, what about you, mate?
I think Nick summed it up pretty well, actually, to be fair. It's real interesting with three of the top nations having new coaches just come in the desk, like with Gats and Borthwick and obviously Eddie kicking out Rennie down here. That's going to be real interesting to see what comes out of there. I don't know, the French have certainly been leading the way. They're playing some pretty phenomenal rugby. The Irish, they too obviously are playing very, very well, and that'd be my pick as probably the top nation up there. But I don't think they've made a semi-final yet, so maybe they're going to be the chokers, Nick. They might perennially choke again.
Yeah, but if they're going to choke, and I don't want to take up other people's time, if they're going to choke, I thought they may have choked down in your neck of the woods, mate. I just that experience under the belt of doing what they may. I'm sorry, it still hurts a bit, but just think about that experience, because remember the French lads came down here last year. They didn't send their best side, and we kind of gave them a bit of a go. It's just something about being on that tour and what they've learned, where they've got to go next. Because I think they're not a team that rests on their laurels. There's some gem that's come out of that tour that's going to give them the resolve to really find that extra yard, extra centimetre when they need it. And I'm not too sure the French have really had that experience yet. steamrolled some average teams over in the Six Nations. Then they look really good, but they're going to come up against some fair income teams week in, week out, under that massive weight of expectation. And the French mindset, they will either kill you or kill themselves. Like there'll be full throttle. If anybody kills themselves, it's the Wallabies or the French.
The Irish are on a path for the either the French or the All Blacks, aren't they, for the quarterfinal?
I'll have to take. I haven't looked at it that closely yet. But I'll take your advice on it. But
so that'd be interesting. Like, I'd look at three of the top 4 teams in the world are going to be, or 2 of those 3 teams from the top 4 are going to be on collision course. So there's a lot of teams can win it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Noel, your thoughts, mate?
Your
wise counsel?
South Africa, I'd say, probably more settled and stronger. Know how they want to play, and I thought the November series, they were quite smart in that. I think they developed a lot of players, so they've got a big squad now that are used to, pressure games, which I think will help a lot come the World Cup. Kiwis, I'd say, depends how much the players buy into Foster. I think, capable of anything, but it's, mentally, I think it's probably more their game. Do they believe in what Foster's doing, and will Foster get them there? And then I think, like you've already mentioned, as far as the Aussies go, it just depends on what Jones does with them. It could be brilliant, could be disaster.
Yeah, I think
Eddie has the All Blacks calling card, though. That I know, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah,
the
true.
True.
I
If he
think
wants to make a stamp, yeah, that'll be the game.
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting with E. Jones being named as the Australian coach. It's going to pay dividends, or it isn't. It's not going to be, by a small margin. It's going to be by a big margin. I think Australian rugby last year and the year before, the last 18 months, have played some excellent rugby in parts, and then have sort of fallen away in other games, which has been really disappointing. And I think we all agree from sort of down south that a strong Australian team is really good for New Zealand rugby as well. And they both, it's just the relationship that works, and you always, as an All Blacks fan, you're always up for a Bledisloe Cup match all the time. And you want them close and you want them tough. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they go. I was disappointed that Rennie got moved on because he is a great coach. But sometimes getting buy-in from other cultures can be a little bit tough. And time will tell. He had the lowest win rate out of any Australian coach. And it's a tough gig. You expect loads from your head coach from any nation, and Australia is no different from New Zealand as well. So I think Australia is going to upset some teams in the World Cup. They've got some quality players. It's just getting them in the right places at the right times. South Africa, I was really impressed with the way that they went through their autumn internationals. They've always had they won the 2019 World Cup based on their forward play and their power play and their defence. But some of the work they've been doing with their back lines, because they've got some class players out in the backs. They've got pace. They've got Wiley. Lacanio arm reminds me a little bit of Conrad Smith. He just does everything right. He's got a little bit of pace. He can just get through gaps. And they've got some, really quick boys out on the back. And the one thing I didn't realise is Andre Pollard. I didn't realise he's 6'3". he's an absolute beast. So they've got the goods as well, and they're the incumbents. They're going to be hard to stop. As for the All Blacks, I think Jason Ryan was a really good selection to go in there as coach for the forwards. I think rugby at the moment is a bit fickle in the way that it moves people on and off, pretty quickly from a coaching point of view. So probably, John Plumtree and his cohort, they got moved out, and a bit like Steve Borthwick and his new guys that have come in, and all the other coaches have just gone straight away. It's not necessarily the assistant coach's fault. They haven't really done anything wrong, but I don't know whether, for me, I'm not sure whether Foz is the right coach to take the team forward, but, the New Zealand Rugby's made that decision and everybody's got to get behind it. So I don't know. If they play well, if they defend well, go on it, jump in.
Segue. Mate, you're talking about Foz, and I'm not here to criticise Foz. I think he's a wonderful coach. But it's more so Gats, and I'm just listening to how Gats is talking, because obviously Razor's the guy on everyone's lips, and Foz is there, but Gats has been talking him up. I got a theory, I suppose, or I think Gats will take the Welsh to the World Cup, and then he'll step back and become like director of Welsh Rugby, and get their systems and pathways sorted out. And I think he would be talking to Razor pretty hard about coming and doing the Welsh job, because if that job, it'll be up, and obviously names going in for it. And if Razor's sort of fallen into that sort of Robbie Dean's, second horse type scenario, if he's got a guy who wants him, he's going to open up a path for him and do all the pathways work and fix Welsh Rugby. We all know from our brief time with the Crusaders program what he's going to do in his man management, and having that Gats, Robertson, potential 1 and 2 in Welsh Rugby. If anyone's going to turn them around quickly for 2027, I think it would be that. So that would be my hot take. Watch this space for Gats, Wales, and Razor.
Do you think? I'm surprised no one's picked up Razor by some nation.
Oh, look, on the Eddie Jones thing, but first and foremost, look, Razor, I would have loved if he came and coached Australia, but not at the expense of Dave Rennie. And I really liked him. I don't know him, but I really liked him as a coach. And you've got to remember, lads, what a parlous state Australian rugby was in when Dave Rennie took over. We don't really need to repeat all of that, but it was in a really bad state. And so he's got a 38%. Look who we play, you guys, in New Zealand every year. And, we've played the English and we've played the French. We've had to rebuild a team under this guy. But he rebuilt the culture that the lads really aren't getting any strife off the field. They seem to carry themselves really well as a team. Like, although we might not have won, a couple of times when, say, Argentina, I forget the place where we played, but we played really, really poorly. And he called the lads out. I thought we were actually heading the right way. Probably the area where I thought needed to improve on was just being ruthless. We're a team that had spirit, but we weren't ruthless. And that's full credit to Dave Rennie. If Mission Impossible is that Eddie comes in and, our guys are lifting the Webb Ellis trophy, I really, Eddie says, I just want to thank Dave Rennie for what team he gave me.
Yeah.
Dave Rennie, and I'm not going to check either, but Dave Rennie inherited a mess. Eddie Jones isn't inheriting a mess. He's inheriting a team that's starting to understand who they are and what they're about. And like I said, if Eddie's going to win it, as an Aussie, I want him to hear is to thank Dave Rennie for what he did to get that team to that level.
So, Noel, who
Absolutely.
do you think is going to take out the World Cup then? Your pick.
Who'll win it? France, if they hold the bottle. South Africa, possibly
Hamish?
Ireland, but I think Ireland's final will be there, getting to the semi.
Yeah.
Can't choose the Crusaders, so I'll go for the All Blacks.
Well, you've been bigging up everybody else, and then you turn around and say the All Blacks. Nick?
Yes, hello.
You didn't let me talk about the South. Oh, righty.
Who do you think? Are you going to, Nick, are you choosing Irish to take it out or French?
I would pick I pick the Irish, the whole thing. And look, South Africa will obviously be out thereabouts, as will New Zealand. And look, our lads will really push a few sides. I'm not saying this because Billy's here, I'm very wary of the Fijians. You guys are obviously working with Fiji and Drua, which has been playing Super Rugby Pacific. They had a trial yesterday against the Melbourne Rebels. I think they beat them 24-0.
Yeah.
Very, very good coach here, Burn. He's involved. He's a very good coach. Seeing the right things that appear to be happening in Fiji, and I'd be worried if I'd keep a big eye on Fiji, and I'm sure Gats is as well with those Welsh boys, because I just don't think it's going to be like 2019 where it's 50, 60 minutes of good Fijian rugby, and then we kind of get them at the end. I think it's going to be it's going to be much better.
That's true.
Go on, Phil. You say that Fiji are going to win the World Cup.
I would love to see it, but then we have a lot of other stuff to get sorted before that can happen. But then, in all honesty, I think the French look like the team to win. For me, the English, I want them to capitulate so we get reason for 2024. Usually offer him a whole lot of money, a lot of pounds, and get him across. Yeah, but then I think it's the French, the All Blacks. You can never count the All Blacks out. Always be in that mix, South Africa. But I agree with Nick on the Wallabies. That was a surprise about the agreement because of the team that he inherited.
Yeah.
But we'll see what Eddie can do. If he can prove everyone wrong, which I think he'll try and do. But yeah, definitely the French and the Irish. But if the French get that big Samoan-born Australian lock that plays for Toulouse, I've been watching him play. Yeah, if they get him into the French team for the Six Nations World Cup, that boy is a big boy. He uses his body really well.
Well, I'm going to go France. I think it's their time to shine. They don't have, they've had the opportunity over the years and they've lucked out. 87 in the World Cup final with us, and then was it 2011 in Auckland again? They're home. They're massive. Their defense is excellent, and they've got the ability. I think it'd be great for World Rugby for them to win. So, and I'd like to see the Fijians get through to semis. And just come through as underdogs, but the mainstays will be there or thereabouts. It just depends who turns up. For some, their final will be getting into the last four, like England did like we did last year. Or England beat us in 2019 and couldn't make it to the final. But it's pretty strategic, isn't it? That 4-year cycle has become a lot smaller these days. It's in years gone by, it was just seemed like World Cup took ages to come around to, but it's not. Sorry, Nick, you go on.
No, mate. I just we've covered like all these teams. Maybe we should just talk about our smokies. And a team that I would not want to play is Michael Cheika's Argentina.
Yeah.
and they've done us all, haven't they? And like, people like to laugh at Czech and all that sort of stuff. I mean, he's the ultimate competitor as far as I'm concerned, and remember when Pablo was talking about Czech during our course, and he just says, yeah, he is authentic as, and what you see is what you're going to get, and he's getting some results for his lads. So that would be my if we're talking Smokies. I know I brought up the top, but I just thought it'd be worth mentioning some of these who our Smokies are. One's definitely Czechs Argentina.
Yeah, well, they skinned us last weekend in Hamilton in the sevens. So they graft, don't they? They fight. You know, they always have. I'm impressed by them always, anytime. And he's a good coach. You know, he gets the best out of his players. He never gives in. And you'd think that he's been on speaking to the refs during the game. You know, he's that passionate, and that's what you want. Sorry, Philly, you were going to say?
No, I was just totally agree with the Argentinians. Physicality-wise, like if you lose touch with the physicality at the breakdown, or how they just are physical, especially in the forwards, you lose touch with them throughout the entire game. You have to match them. They want probably 90 minutes. And with what Nick said, Czech is proving everyone wrong this time around. I thought the Twickenham game was going to be a walkover for England, but it wasn't. They walked over the English.
Oh, what are your thoughts, mate?
Well, Czech or Argentina, I think he suits them in terms of, I think you mentioned that passion side of things. I think it's just a perfect match in a lot of ways, is that? And it's, can they control that to perform is their question, I think. I came across him, he was in with Leinster for 2 years whilst I was over in Ireland. And like he just transformed the way their whole organisation, you know, took them from being very much a big social side to being actually a serious rugby side, and drove them. So I think I think it's the perfect match for something like Argentina. You know, that they seem to thrive. You can see a lot with them. They thrive on their passion side of the game, and I think he's perfect for that. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, let's have a look at a couple of other things now. So let's go into resilience, guys. From your point of view, just touch on sort of, you know, what you think resilience means to you, whatever context you want to use it with. And, you know, maybe some of the work that you've done with people, with coaches, with other coaches, in a support role, even with parents. Who wants to kick us off?
Hamish does.
Excellent, Hamish.
Thanks, Nick. I was just trying to find the Oxford Dictionary for resilience, see what it meant. But I don't know. For me personally, it's probably on a personal level, it's meeting challenges or headwinds and still staying on the course that you've set. And it's not always easy, you know. It's and the challenges can come from anywhere and unexpected, and come any time. They can be big wins or little wins, but having the courage or tenacity to keep heading where you think where your values lie, you know, towards that, and not changing who you are, even if stress coming on. I don't know, I've gone a long way around, but for me personally, that's probably how I view resilience.
Excellent. Who wants to jump in next then? What do you want to carry on? Carry on, Hamish.
Oh, carry on, me.
Yeah.
Crikey. And I guess when I'm coaching players or dealing with players and talking to them, I'm trying to build resilience by, one of the things I picked up on the Crusaders course was the what ifs. So with my leadership group, I brought that in and we discuss the what ifs. What if this happens in a game of rugby, and what if this happens, and what are your options? And that's a big one. I love having options and a plan. You know, so this plan didn't work, we'll try something else, you know, but we still stay head towards where we're trying to get to. So I find discussing challenges that might come up as a useful tool, getting them thinking around, and their ideas hopefully will be completely different to what mine were, but as long as they're thinking about it, so when a challenge does hit them, they've got some confidence to move forward.
Nice, I like it. Noel.
Well, I suppose two things from coaching side of things. Like, real quick story. When I started with the ladies back in sort of end of July, August time, first thing I said to them is, I don't care about results. We just want to get better. Second game of the season, we lost 102-0 to a team. And they were probably some of the happiest players I've met afterwards. And we played that same team 3 weeks ago, and we lost 33-12 to them. And so one of the spectators of the club came to me afterwards and says, looking at the two teams after the game, it looked like we'd won the game because we were just a happy team, whereas the other team were getting a mouthful for not putting more points on us. And like that 102 scoreline during that game, I spent a lot of time like behind the sticks, just chatting away with the fullback and just saying, it's a lovely sunny day, isn't it? Let's just concentrate. I might just get the sun cream out and stuff like that. And it was like, don't worry about, we make mistakes. Like, we have probably 6 girls have maybe got more than 12 months worth of rugby, and the rest of them are brand new to it. And it's like, you're going to get days like this, but what do you learn from it? And then when we had that return fixture, they were actually sort of saying, this is how we want to play this game. This is how we want to do stuff. And they just went out and did it. And it was like, you chat to them afterwards, and like I say, that they were over the moon with their performance afterwards, and I say, it's like, forget the results. You're going to get challenges. It's, I think like Hamish said, how do you deal with those challenges when they come to you, and give them those, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this works? Why not do that? And I don't put any pressure on them in terms of, you've got to win, you've got to win, you've got to win, or anything like that. It's like, as long as you learn something from it, happy days, learn from it. Personally, probably some sort of thing. I'm a pretty laid back kind of a person, and that a lot of times work-wise is counted against me, because particularly like with the Opsman management, they want strong vocal leaders, and I wouldn't be like that, but I'd be quite good with people, I think. And that's counted against you a lot of the times. But I think for me, it's like, stay true to yourself and just believe and carry on. You will get there because you're true to yourself, as opposed to, I don't know, but trying to be somebody else. I'm trying to be something that somebody else wants, and coaching wise, that's always like served me well. You get a lot of players will come and talk to you once you're like that with them. They'll come and open up to you a lot, which is great, because you can get to find out, let's say, what they're like and communicate that suits them, kind of thing, and get them to do things that maybe they don't quite want to do, or they never quite understand, things like that, and it's, I think, I'm a big fan of that, what if that does work? There was a fantastic interview when O'Gara was at the Crusaders a few years back. He was on, I think, is it 104 FM or something, the radio show. Him and Robertson, they had an interview, and Robertson actually said, when O'Gara went down there, he had the Northern Hemisphere mindset. And like O'Gara just said, the biggest light bulb moment for him was halfway through a game when Robertson just turned around and says, I think they were on about chucking a load of young kids into a game. And Robertson just turned around and said, yeah, but what if it works? And O'Gara was like, oh, I never thought of that. And I think it's just having that mindset. It's like, don't put pressure on them to perform, but just say to them, look, back yourselves, do this, do that. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, learn from it.
Yeah. That's Nelson Mandela. You're either winning or you're learning.
Yeah.
One of his
quotes. I'll lose him by 102 points. Yeah.
Hey, you lost by less than 70.
Well, it was interesting because the final chat before we played them, like after Thursday training, was, if if we only lose by 50, that's that's a good 50-point turnaround in our favour.
Yeah.
As it was, I think we ended up on something like 70-80 point turnaround, so it was like they were over the moon with it.
Definitely. It's all about context, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nick, Philly, who wants to jump in next, boys?
I'll go.
Nick, you go first.
Thanks, Phil. I think all the other lads have touched on it. You don't know resilient if you're winning. Winning doesn't bring resilience, I don't think. You find out if you're resilient when things are apparently the wrong way. But the boys touched on it. If you're going to a patch, you can't take it personally. I think as a coach, if you think it's a reflection of you as a person or you as a coach or whatever, you just got to get that mindset out. And the first mindset is well, what am I learning from this? Be open to the learning experience of what you're going through. But that's got to be, it just can't be that mindset on its own. I find, and the boys also mentioned it, it's got to be coupled with your values. If you stick to your values and just, back yourself, to the players, but even as a coach, just back that these are my values. I'm going to stay true to them. I'm going to keep myself open to learn from whatever it is I'm supposed to learn from this experience we're going through, without getting off the track of who you are as a person and a coach, and just keep ploughing through. You'll get there, but there's a third element that I think that's also involved in. It's get some perspective. Like, we're not really playing for stations here, and sometimes you see some guys, even like community level coaches. It's like they're prepping a team for the World Cup or something like that, and we all want to do well. And we want our guys to win, and I can tell you, I'm guilty of sometimes being a little bit too, in the moment. Some of the players and ex-players can tell you, I have a ferocious temper at times, but only when it's required, I think. So I think getting some perspective and just realising it's a game of rugby, it's not a death. But if you're going to get down about losing a game of rugby or having a bad season, just reach back into your DNA and just go, my people have probably fought wars, famines, travelled to the other side of the world, and you're here, pardon my French, losing your shit over a game of rugby. Just get some perspective.
Yeah.
So keep everything in perspective and be open to learn, and you'll be as resilient as you need to be. That's
wise words. Wise words.
Cheers.
Billy?
I think from my context, from where we're at in Fiji, I think probably resilience for me personally would be helping our boys. The majority of the boys that play in our club, they're unemployed. Unemployed in the sense whereby they did finish high school, so they have a good command of English. But it's just being able to commit to something, to commit to a job or to commit to a goal, and in that process, in using rugby to get them to be able to incorporate the values of rugby that we use in our club to help them put goals in, so that they can have some structure in the way they do things. Because most of them, when they do come, they're either they don't have jobs or they're in and out of jobs, because we need them to have jobs so that they can support the way we play, because we play amateur rugby back here.
Yeah.
We don't pay our players. But the Fijian player is very committed. So when a Fijian player is happy, or he'll do anything for you. But when he's not happy, he's very quiet, head down. So that's why for us, coming into what we learned from the Crusaders course is very, and I think both Nick, Hamish, and David picked on that, we have to get our players to express themselves, to conversate, and just be resilient in that matter, so that they don't think that if they share with us or share with me something, that I will not appreciate it. Because in our culture, basically the coach talks, you do it. So it's just being resilient in that matter, where they get to learn to take the responsibility upon themselves to be able to play the game not only the way we want them to play, but also play it the way they want to play when they come up against a defensive pattern, in that way. And then after then taking those learnings and then sitting with them, and after we've built the relationship with them where we can talk to them on issues outside rugby, then we can use the same model for them to use in their own personal lives. So we've been currently sending players to I think to New Zealand. I think some are leaving for Southland tomorrow. So they're going because they're having a job exchange program where they work at the butcher and play as well. So with these boys, we've worked on so that they can thrive in that environment whereby they're not quiet. So it's just being resilient enough to work with them for like 1.5 years and not being overwhelmed by some of them are a bit more difficult to work with because of the backgrounds they come from. But it's just making sure that, like Nick said, just like we believe in the set of values that we have, and we work them through it slowly, so that they understand that when they set goals in place, they can achieve them. Because most of the boys we have, their goal is just to come to training.
Billy, I'm going to jump in there because you raise a really interesting point. And I know the other four of us, we come from sort of different backgrounds, but sort of for the boys back home, for them it's work, isn't it? It's an opportunity to, and for the guys that we're probably involved with in New Zealand, Australia, and the UK, the majority of guys have been working. They've either got families or they're lucky they've been brought up and had the opportunity to play. Whereas your boys, sort of, the majority aren't working. If they're going to be coming overseas, the language is not their first language, so they're probably learning that. They won't be that good at speaking English, will they? So there's a whole lot of different things that your boys, are trying to overcome, even whilst they're at home and then moving forward.
So yes, that's true, Craig. For us, they know how to speak English. It's conversational. So like for me, because of the background where I come from, I've met a lot of different people, traveled and stuff, I'm able to express myself in speaking and not be afraid of saying, we call it in Fiji broken English. For us, English is very important. Okay? You have to, because we learn it from primary school right up to high school at 18 years old. So the boys, most of them, they don't have a proper command of it. They can understand it. They understand it really well. But it's just being able to conversate. So it's just getting them to be able to hear what the coaches are saying and respond in a way they can respond. Because the coaches, we tell them, the coaches overseas, they just want you to respond to know how you're doing things, how things are going. They can speak English, but it's just getting over that barrier, because most of the time when they do come to us, they've been spoken down on, like down upon. So most of the time their confidence level is really low. So now with our academy, because we're bringing them up right from under 9s and through our junior academy from under 14s, that's one of the things we're working really hard on, is for them to talk, to conversate back with us, so that they can be able to articulate their thoughts about other things. But if they can't, unable to describe or say anything or express their views, then it's very hard to understand and know what they want.
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Were you going to say something, Hamish? No. I think so. From a couple of things that I've learned over the last 12 months is that like Nick said, gaining perspective. I think when you coach, doesn't matter what capacity you coach in, It's a privileged position to be able to lead a group of whatever it looks like. You know, it could be a team at work, or it could be a team of players. It could be juniors, women's, men's, and it comes with a lot of responsibility. So perspective and being able to give as much as you can is, you know, really, really important. And the fact that you're always learning. You know, if we all had the answers, then you know, life would be a bit boring. But it's, again, it's about perspective. I found when my experience in 2022, with a number of things that have gone on, my perspective had changed for a number of reasons, that some were in my control and some were out of my control. And I had lost that connection with the playing group that I was with. And this is me speaking up. I haven't really spoken to many people about it. And what the players needed from me and what I was able to provide them had changed. And that was because I was focused on trying to get a number of other things set in place to help support them. And as a result of that, you know, I was asked to move on. And when I started to reflect on that and to understand how could I have done things better, I think my resilience would have been sort of finding those, having that support network in place a lot earlier, and having sort of like a mentor that you could bounce ideas off on a regular basis. So if you've got challenges that you're going through, there's somebody that you can knock on, you know. And in all honesty, I could have probably spoke with Noel as well, because we've known each other for a long, long time. And these things happen, and it's not until you reflect on what's gone on that you start to build an idea of, oh shit, that happened, I can do this differently next time, and I would do this differently next time, you know. And so for me, it's about, you know, coming up against a challenge, moving through the challenge, adapting to the circumstances that are around you, being better prepared, and then moving on forward. So that was my learning for 2022. I remember listening to a story about the bull and the buffalo and the cow. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. So it's pretty simple. When a storm's coming, a buffalo will run towards a storm, straight into it. It'll go straight through it, and the cow will turn around and run the other way. And so it must be hardwired into the buffalo's DNA that they will always approach the storm and go straight through it, because they know that they will go through it, get through it quicker than, you know, if they turn around and run the other way. Whereas the cow thinks they're running away to get away from it, and then it catches up with them and they're still in it, you know, and they can't figure out how long they're going to be in it. So from a human point of view, I think sometimes a lot of people may turn around and run the other way, you know, trying to avoid it. But actually, the best thing is to deal with it, and it helps you to get through the challenge quicker. So, if there was one thing that you would recommend to other coaches about being resilient or being able to manage their situation better, what would you say? Go on, Noel. You're on mute. Noel, you're on mute. Were you just miming? No. Go on, Hamish, jump in.
Big question, Craig. Big question. I don't know. I think perspective, like Nick said before, is a big thing, you know, and also the mindset around if you're in a tough position, that's an opportunity to learn and to grow and to have another crack. You can't change what's done, but you can change what you're going to do in the future. I'm big on that, you know, like that's done. How did it come? How, you know, was it good? Was it bad? Was it different? But where are we going and how do we get there? And that's all and the tough times are the best opportunities for learning. Really, that's when it's when you'll have a good look at what happened and what you can do different. So take it as an opportunity to learn and to grow and develop.
Yeah, cool. Philly, just give us your thoughts on how you can help we'll go with player, how you can help your players build resilience. I know you've already touched on it, but there may be some key takeaways.
Yeah. I'll just give an example. I basically I focus on the forwards in the team I'm with. So the front rows were the tight fives. The front rows basically they hate to run. They hate to do the runs after. So we call it ice cream. So everyone gets to have ice cream after the game where they run. They do fast leg run. So the boys they hate, especially the front rows. So I always tell them, see, it's better you knock out running than you get knocked out in a scrum, because no one will during the game will remember you knocking out if you ran and you fainted. But everyone will remember you as a prop who gets pushed back when you're in the scrum.
Yeah.
So the game we played last Saturday was our first warm-up game. We at the end of the game, the props that I had came and were really happy with their game. And I told them that analogy that I had used, so that they won't give up. So I think it's getting to know your players and teaching them never to give up, no matter if you're a prop asked to jump in a lineout. You have to give them self-belief that they can do it, because they'll be the ones doing it, not me. So I always tell them, I won't be there to push a scrum. I won't be there to help you fix it at halftime, but you have to be able to know what's wrong, talk to your teammates, and fix it in real time at the ground during the game. So one of the other big things with resilience is knowing the players that play for you. I think Noel touched on that. Like you have to know your players. You have to know your coaching staff. You have to take the time to know them, so that when the hard times comes, you won't stick together because you are coach and player. You'll stick together because you have a relationship with each other. That you have mutual respect, so that when we blow the whistle to have ice cream at the end of the game, at the end of the training session, all of them run to the goal line because they know that everyone gets a full serve. So yeah, so as a front row, that's probably the way I put it. Just have to get them to have the self-belief to run and never give up, and don't get pushed back in the scrum. Hamish never gets pushed back in the scrum. Never got pushed back.
Nick, do you want to cover off any takeaways for like a parent?
Yeah, look, I I've dealt in the under-20 space before, and I found one of the things we did at the course was about those parents who appear to be pushing their child into the game for some vicarious reason, and the child's kind of reluctant. So if I was a parent listening to this, just back off. Let the kid develop. Let the young lady, let the young man just develop themselves, because that's why we put our kids into sport, as a way of learning how to be a human being, and learn the values of it. And we've had our time playing whatever we played, whether it's rugby or whatever. It's not our time. So I'd say to the parents out there, you can bring so much love and care, which is so important, but that love and care has to be shown by letting go and letting these kids evolve as humans, because they're going to be in our society in the next 10 to 15 years. And if we can teach them those great values through sport, let go. They don't need to come to mum and dad and ask questions of mum and dad. They don't need to come and ask me why little Jimmy ain't getting picked, because I don't mind being very honest with them. And I don't care what school you went to. I don't care who your dad is. I don't care. I just let that kid turn up, and if he's bringing all those values that I like, he or she will always get a start. So that would be my advice to parents. Just back off.
Yeah, exactly. Noel, jump in. Noel, are you there?
Can you hear me again?
Welcome.
Yes.
What was I saying? But
What was the question?
But best thing for me would be like chuck yourself into a different culture. Like I say, moving to Ireland, getting coaching out there was a massive eye opener. You know, totally, completely different attitude. Particularly when I ended up in Trinity, I'd say I probably spent the first season there sort of banging my head, going, "What on earth are you doing?" Because it's 2003, so I was so used to like that English way of playing, and like it was an English guy in charge, but he had the mindset of the Australian Kiwis, ball in hand and play rugby, you know. And it was like these young students just running the ball from here, there, and everywhere. And I was like, no, kick to the corners and everything else, you know. But you saw the other side of that. It was like the players were just so engaged and loved doing it, you know. And it was like, maybe there's something in this. So it's like, I'd say any coach, you know, just go to another country and coach somewhere else, you know. And it's just, your way is not the only way, and what you know is not the only way. And then, and tying in with a bit like what you just talked about, Nick, it was university side, so you'd have a lot of parents around, and there was quite a chunk of time sort of getting a chat to some of those parents and just say, back off and just leave them, just let them be, you know, because they're capable, you know, they are good players. They don't need you roaring at them, you know, and get to a point with like a lot of them is, even with a good few of the players I teach now, it's like, I tell them you're only allowed to say positive things to each other. You're not allowed to say anything negative, and like instantly changes the atmosphere, the whole atmosphere of the team. You know, if all you ever do is you can only praise things, you know, and it's like, you get rid of that negativity and people beating each other, or be it parents, be it other players or wherever, stuff like that. It just creates such a better atmosphere with players and teams.
I've got an example, Noel, of a club that I used to coach. I'm personal friends with two of the players and their dads, and I don't coach at that club anymore. And I've had to have, with one particular player who was our captain, and I adore the kid, or young man, like he's, you know, but I had to drop him because representative players were coming back, and it's just the way it was, and it was a tough conversation. But because his dad, you know, he'd raised a good young man who had dealt with a lot of adversity, was a very resilient young man already, and so the dad understood the process that was going on, and he was almost like a partner in having to deliver this tough blow. So there's some parents who really do get it, and they're almost partners in what you're doing, and they realise their role. And there's another dad who's raised a fantastic young man as a son, and just a natural leader as a guy, and a pleasure to have around. And there's others, because their kid had been at a scholarship and all this sort of stuff. They're just used to being the first team. They're used to winning. They're used to having the red carpet treatment. And you get to a point where that stops, and it's usually club rugby. And that's where you figure out, shit, I'm not a hero anymore. I'm one of the group working hard, and the resilience ain't there, because they've never had to be resilient, because it was all given to them. And you're watching this episode of this young person's life evolve, and the best thing you can do is just sit there and sort of, fucking, this is what's happening, mate, and deal with it, and you'll come out the other side. But if you want to walk off and try another club or go whinge to someone, I'll see you back here in a couple of hours, because you're going nowhere.
Yeah,
that's the nature of it, as Blake's name. So.
I think so. I've got a couple of stories. When I was working the police back home, I remember a number of times having to go down to the local pub, and in the little town that I lived in, it was pretty dodge. And we'd work one up, and nearest back up was about 15, 20 minutes away. And so if we had to go and lock somebody up who was down at the pub causing trouble, we would get in contact with family. And so one of the family members would come down to the pub with us, go in, pull them out, and then we'd take him through and process them. I couldn't have gone to the pub on my own. because I would have got an absolute pasting. So you're right, Nick. You can get, if you get the right people on side to help deliver that message, it works really well, really well. And the other thing that I was going to say is that John Quinn, who I interviewed, and for those that don't know, John has been the mental skills coach for the Crusaders for a long time. Also with the New Zealand Bowls at Commonwealth Games. Now, I interviewed John in episode 8. It was really interesting. He was talking about COVID and when the teams weren't able to play with crowds there, and they absolutely loved it, you know, because there was no grief being given to players. There was no grief being given to referees or officials and the likes. It was a breath of fresh air. And the other thing that he was commented on is exactly what you said before about parents who go the other way and that they just want to get involved. And during COVID, these teams were playing the high school and the parents weren't allowed in. And they were ringing up John saying, I need to get in. I need to be watching. I've got to be there. He goes, you know, just let them play. That's why they call it a game. You know, just enjoy it. It just goes back to the reason why we all start playing to start with, because it's fun. It's a way to express yourself and it's a way to learn new skills. And sometimes we can, in the heat of the moment, we can lose sight of that sometimes, but you know, that's the way it is. Look, I think we're an hour 25 in. Time's gone really quick. What's the score, Hamish?
We won 38-0.
Oh, nice. One from two.
How did you know?
Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Hit the nail on the head, mate. It's got to be fun. If it's not fun, why would anybody do it?
Yeah.
To any coach or player, don't be afraid to take the next step, as daunting as it might be. Get up, take the next step. Because the moment you stop stepping, it's over. So it doesn't matter how tough it is, just take the next step. And the final thing is, the hardest competitor you will face is you. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who makes the ultimate decision to stop. You busted, injured, whatever. Shut out the white noise, refocus, and you make the decision for you. And just surround yourself with good people and shut out the white noise, take the next step, and just keep going. You'll come out of it somewhere. So thanks very much for having me on. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's good fun. Miss you, anything you want to add?
I think Nick's got a gym there, so I couldn't add to that. That was great. So just enjoyed being part of it. And happy days, guys. Enjoy it.
I think from my point of view, you can be involved in rugby in different ways. And one of the things that's really I've been proud of during the podcasting is that I got a message from one of the guys who's following me on Twitter, and he's got back involved in rugby after being out, back in coaching again, just because of what he'd listened to and the stuff that we're doing. So sometimes your involvement can be in different ways, and supporting the game in different forms. So that's been a win-win for me. But I agree, do it, get stuck involved, get stuck in, and just enjoy it, because there's loads to give. Obviously, Philly's bored; he's gone. Look, guys, thank you all for tuning in today. Thanks for your input, and I would love to be able to do this again sometime in the future, because it's great connecting. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Cheers, boys.
Thanks, guys.